4 is again because of Jesus. The model that we have in Christ is this. From 2 Corinthians chapter 8, St. Paul writes this. He said, "He who was rich made himself poor for your sake." I mean, think about this, that when it comes to our lives, we're supposed to be conformed to Jesus Christ. And what that means is not just in our prayer and not just in our fasting, not just in our just goodness, but actually we're called in a certain sense to impoverish ourselves for others. That the richness we could have, you worked hard for it or someone gave it to you, that you accomplished a lot of things and now it's yours. And it's true, it's kind of yours.
Ba beni ba tainen bin ka kwegen ko kombanti muti kaba bene ambassador bi Chinese be on ka kwegen ko gasalo one king bene on tro pada mate ke mante ba no na bine makwe na ho ni nga bine sunga ka bine owe arege ba ka poti ba ka do mi bine kana tongo ka lo pambara ka pompio bene na kai ka Kenema wa umba ko ite bine umba maseba algo no na bia punkele bani awali na abinde kutikwen kudu Kenema mwali mama na kuiti binde mana binde manki ga tani ke baka binde ka sunku no binde ga ba di to arege ba ga poti uganda binde mase ba no meni ba ga uya ha no kai ga kotoi awa umbi kimba koite ukwa meta ba to mina kwegen ku kama de ki ma kuiti binde ma bia bike pengti ande kama de ki mama bam kitanda bakalani de imbia biboya bakuta matime mara mwali mama mama buhe binde banyama kama timba mbamba ombang binde homo kende kobri oga dole wuli kontoga soi o binde tunku ka yereme bi konto kana imbi soi kataga benena i helen binde buhe badua katututo kan kwege nga benena banya wali eden kadupui mo binde mase katani menta seta batalane tebeni baga hupeto koto hao imbi bidani wali yonko binde sega tabante badi takagi gabeni baga puya ngaso ninga ya mapirani manka kwege kokomba umba babi on binde oni aba mase ba halgo non beni baga puya ngaso ninga ka kwege komba soni be ka kwege ko na moni usone makoto ma kene memba nyo mangate baya oni tebeni baga puya basoni be ka kwege kokomba Dr. Abdul Jallo de tipe batoma na bako kaeba benimba mapirani masoni be ka kwege ko bebe na batema de binde batute masima Kenema bitimumba bya bibanyo mahagendo matenge ban benimba ga basoni be ihele babi be koto baton ba basoni be banka kwege kokomba ba kiyondi ba kanina ho 1902 oye mitoba minister opio ka batala lite beni baga opeto kotwa Dr. Jalikatu Mustafa inde tengeni rende ba doma na bikin ba tutamasima Kenema ka beni baga opeto kotwa be painting ka beni baga masoni nga awa umba ogonda ni ba peta taga pia ba yaembe ba na binde koti utenge ga mawali ma Kenema na binde de tikari ga tanini ta dangan de ta matalo ne tebe ni ba ga opito ko to bi fine ni wali gata bantebe binde tebe ba do na bi ne kuti mawali mayo le to da binde ga nya anu bi gon ko kai ba hal go be ba ga prenga soni nga kai ga ko choi ba ka tamasel ma ka ko choi monda na konomani untena ora party ora epision ka kwere kokomba awa nde ko ka ba ka ga punkitane bitsone me bierme ka south east manona binde se gata bandi kana mon dana konomani na nde punko ine tepe ba da mano de na untena ono I maton ba party ora episi mene be konsimo ntena obo ende makwe maga beni baga tapagineta I ta onita hawande awande dukunonde ele makwe ba denande minister ba beni baga makwe renga ka kwere kokomba kere nande kinde maton ba party ora episi ne dete badoma kama oma de kiye akahen ma toma Kenema ba algo na party me na binde sega kotoi ba non menen bide timomba party omba na binde sega sembe kanina amba katanine ta seta bala bata kima serema hopon kie ba mone ka kwege kokoma udome binde ka poroto na civil society consortium de bina sega tabante ta konita ena ba de takage ba nona bia ni wali ga kwenko kana hawa utoyo ginwandi madenki mama mbao awa kuruma ndete peba da managani no ga 2012 na kwa Kenema kena ukinde ga deta kage beni ba hawa ndi ba nona binde dete ba beni ba ga wila ka kwege kokomba ba kinkini ndi beni ba no na tabia sitankai ga kwege ko kama seri na utubinde ga pada na wote pe ba doma na de kwendo kai ba odo bibina na security port ba no ko hamba na hu kai ga kotoi binde de tere mo wali ma Kenema ma ka kute binde ba doma beni ba po kinkene ba tema de binde ba tutamasi ma Kenema awa kere kama wali ma ko itende binde ma binde sondo kwa mentia ba no ma wali ma mandi ma ni binde ma ka balon bin tuhega imbeni mba hena bano na yule bindeni waligende na ba mase ba algo non ka nina ba karanteni keme hante binde se gata bante ba algo non na binde tiema e chogo umandi awa karante odome binde na Prince Williams Association dia rumema mende se gata bante binga ila karanto do mebende na Prince of Wales Secondary School ba karande ni bitoto ngende be mbitio be mende se ata bante ba nyama ito mama ndi ba karante o ba karante o konsega se tata ni nkeme hanti wonte ko kiengende de na twande Insulaiman Raman Kamara o kunkia du kunemu kim ba mase karante o na de kai ga kotoi omba ne tepe ba do man na umase ko ba ko ni binde o binde bi ba bitotende karanbe kende bi ga kwege ku ga UK monte rende ka binde na Dr. Lucia Ture onde de tepe ba do man na wali ma ko itene mamba du ko no ko masega karante omba no de hele na kontena ototira karante omba awande kaimbe obeba hena bani o unde ma kotema kutende ma imatine ma kutenda ande tetema ka karante o inde badwa ga mase impati bigende totiebe tena pe maserma karabe elenka ke gombe na tepe maserma hegende kavita kwa denta ne minister omba beni ba taine be Timothy Kaba mene ambassador wa Chinese be ko kwege ko salon wanking mide omutuka pada baye maka lonka matani masun kubinde maka binde hoye de harge bango kwege ngaga poti ga fenko ga Kenema bano na gende buhiban niyo wali beni mbamba beni mba hena benki kene kage bani akaram awam bataloni tebe ni baga upeto koto mine se gata bantebi mine ni wali gata bantebi ba ditakagi ka beni baga kuya ngasoni nga imapirani manka kwege ko tena pe masirna yanda agne subature inga bina hanundo imalogo mahena.
Salon Broadcasting Corporation television fambolo na money no this na the use Mika Finu Kono but first Mika give na the big use. Minister for Foreign Affairs and the Chinese ambassador don pull na do one pilot land rehabilitation project inside Kenema. And the Ministry of Health together with the development partner they don pull na do the mental health champion network inside Salon. Now for the use proper one. The Minister for Foreign Affairs and Internal Cooperation Timothy Kaba and the Chinese ambassador to Salon when now Wang Green don't do the pilot land rehabilitation project inside Tongo community Lower Bambara Chiefdom Kenema district. This idea has also been come for see how they go able for making them way been done well or lost na them community where they go able for the get and provide for them safe. This project here so them Mingia name say innovative environmental restoration through sustainable livelihood in small scale mining affected company them inside community them inside Salon. This now for make sure say the couple business and development way been done lost na the community then get them back, and all these projects here so they talk about they in line with the big game changer them where government they work with, and that's get for do with the Feed Salon program. When them in the Pulnado, the local authority they in a Salon, then go use and fine. This project here so they target 45 women them where then go get land for plant agriculture, team them we get to do with different vegetable them within a different year them where go the happen 3 different time they inside 1 year. Then go say also get fish pond and one color room with solar panel where then go they keep them fish there where then go they cage. The Ministry for Health together with development partner them don't pull na do one mental health champion network inside Salon. The reason na for push mental health service them and all about inside the country and talk about them. This means people that we can call affluent with the aid not day, then go pay attention to their well body one and go talk to anybody within our society or any side we go the point finger up and them for sick at the well way they know well. The head for the psychiatric teaching hospital, Dr. Abdullahi Jallo, say people them where they can call affluent is say they can day before they talk for them, make effort and say we so get capacity message, get a team them for where then go make for let them go get well body. Then say we so go put law them where get for do with the last acts for 1902. Deputy Minister of Health too, Dr. Jelika to Mustafa say when you they give well but the way they think of them people they are so we they can call affluent you want for take care of them. He said now one thing now one the way the ministry they pay attention to serious one. He say and then go make sure say for make let them people they are so well. This project here so we they don't pull na do go turn like a where I open pan something for see how they go help for solve them problem they are so where people that way they can call affluent inside the country get. Inside some year the way don't pass the ministry and in partner then don't they work for make sure say that service day for treat people them way know well it day now then topmost priority and now more like a people them with the election all People's Congress Party it don't they on one mission now outside they talk to him fellow party woman them na the south and east parts na the country according to Dan Madam Konomani the party it go fine and strong where they all come together and fight for win the election and all that go happen where the member them come together and be one. Madam Konomani been talk say in now one person will be vex serious one from the party but in don't put in vex one side and now they talk and cooks and comping them when a woman for make them self come together make them make peace so that peace go day inside the All People's Congress Party. Then Konomani say him be member for local government and rural development, and say we saw Minister of Lands, Country Planning and Environment during President Anis Baiko first time presentation and for control that particular side na the airport. But another day for make them collect people the way they travel no more, the data information and then control points and see how they can talk to them during the time when they check them, or now because the biometric there or other documents verification no more. They say they can say we so make sure say if anything they happen then go able know, and the problem we go come na the immigration and other national security them we can dey around with any other kind of material what happen them go know one thing. Our been tell thank to government for this good change where it don't make na the airport, as he talk say this facility also na the airport it go fine na the sub region. As part of the school in 100-year celebration, the Old Prince Williams them association don shape centenary tie win a necktie to over 1,500 school picking them na Prince of Wales School. The president for the association we na Sulaiman Rahman Kamara say this gift to a give them so a good day for sure, say that they celebrate 100 year where the school don't day. Sulaiman Rahman Kamara say we so talk say na something where them for lack and keep, so that the one them we then get for born or the one that we get for come go no say them in the part of that school day in 100-year celebration. One that we give the gift to a series of member for the Old Prince William Association UK chapter, Dr. Lucia Toure, say the association go do already it take for me and make sure say the standard where the school day so not drop it continue for day like it did, and other Prince William and say then go continue for do thing that we go make the school a name day up. The picking them in tell thank for this kind of idea to the association for this effort where they make for let the school a name go continue for the up, and say we so call for more academic support for them. Well, now the use don't make us in before I go like you na the main use back. The Minister for Foreign Affairs, Timothy Kaba, and the Chinese ambassador to Salon Wang Queen don't pronado the pilot rehabilitation project na Kenema district, and the Ministry for Health together with the development partner they don't pronado the mental health champion network inside Salon. Now the use don't make us in they say Tata, I hope you go get a lovely day.
I am Salet Noguera, and I speak to you today as the representative of ECOWAS for the Journalism Excellence Award, a recognition of courage, truth, and impact. Journalists are the guardian of democracy, the voice of the people, and the force behind change. Your work deserves to be seen, heard, and celebrated. This is your moment. Submit your best report, investigations, and stories. Show the world the power of West African journalism. The deadline is March 20th. Do not miss this opportunity. Apply now and let your voice shape the future.
This is the Sierra Leone Broadcasting Corporation. Here is an important public notice from State House. The general public is hereby informed that it has pleased His Excellency, the President, Brigadier Retired Dr. Julius Maada Bio, to relieve the following from their positions with immediate effect. 1. Mr. Mohamed Oman Bangura, Minister of Youth Affairs. Mr. Moriba Koroma, Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs. Mr. Ahmed Sebon Kanu, Managing Director, Sierra Leone National Shipping Company. That ends this public notice from State House. Signed, Dr. Emmanuel A.R. Gaima, Secretary to the President. Thank you.
From the President in office, the President Julius Maada Bio wants all man from no say. Then people there, so we don't have the one from the office. And then people there now Mohamed Omar Bangura, Minister of Youth Affairs, Mohamed Moiba Kouma, Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, and Mr. Mohamed Sebum Kanu, Managing Director, Salon National Shipping Company. Now the vote done so we come out from the President in office, and Dr. Emmanuel A.R. Gaima, Secretary to the President in State House, in Senate.
A place cannot produce poems. It can only not prevent them. And Freetown is good at that, for Freetown has its own sudden elegances. People are slow to leave it, quick to return. And there are others who come for a year or two and stay for a lifetime, sensing that they found a city that is in the world, yet sufficiently on the edge of it to have a different resonance. Let me tell you something about this city. All of us, we're all just passing through, and we've all been here forever. Those who came, those who stayed, those who never returned. Tides turn, seasons change. We've waited and we've watched. But we've always been here. We've always listened, because there is a different resonance here. It comes from the river, and the land, and the sky.
It's our place, all of us.
This city belongs to everyone.
And you know when it's your time.
And it's our time.
Listen, we are Freetown.
We are Freetown.
golden rules of Freetown.
Don't pretend you're something that you're not.
Don't go thinking you're better than anyone else,
or that anyone else is better than you.
Don't shout about it. Get on with it.
We are Freetown.
Freetown.
Yeah! We found our voice again.
I'm from India and Freetown.
I'm from China and Freetown.
I'm from the UK and Freetown.
I am from Nigeria and Freetown.
I am from home and Freetown.
This city belongs to everyone.
The fisherman,
the taxi driver,
the barber,
the drummers, the dancers.
It's midday in Freetown. Good afternoon and welcome to the podium. Our quote for today comes from Billy Graham, an American evangelist, and it says, "When wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost." Well, coming up in this edition of the podium, Ministry of Health and partners launch Mental Health Champions. Ministry of Environment and Climate Change to host the National Forest and Climate Forum 2025. And hundreds of WAS candidates affected by WAEC portal entry for WAS have protested. Well, all these and more coming up in this edition of the podium. Be part of it. Send your messages to 030-073-719. The number again is 030-073-719. This is the podium coming to you live on Slbc Television in Freetown. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamara. Welcome to the podium. First on the podium this afternoon. Over the past few years, the Ministry of Health and its partners have been working to improve the quality of services for mental health neurological disorders. As part of these efforts, the Ministry of Health, together with its development partners, have launched and inducted the Mental Health Champions Network in Sierra Leone. This network aims to advance mental health services and advocacy throughout the country, ensuring that mental health is prioritized and stigma is addressed in all levels of society. Well, the mental health champions, and they are comprised of non-mental health professionals passionate about mental health. Well, for more about them, I have in the studio Joshua Abelse Duncan, Country Director, Mental Health Coalition and a Mental Health Champion. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon and thanks for having me.
Now, there's a brief introduction about what this Mental Health Champions entail. Kindly tell us more. What are your dues?
Oh, thank you. Mental Health Champions, as the name imply, are individuals that are set to push issues relating to mental health forward and to ensure that not just awareness is being raised, awareness by the drive of dispelling ignorance so that we will move away from the myths of mental health problems and its causative factor, but also to raise awareness around, also to advocate around key issues around the mental well-being of individuals and support for institutional and policy reforms.
And now, when people hear the word mental, all they think about is madness. Tell us more about maintaining one's mental health.
Brilliant question. I always answer this question. Mental health is a positive term. It's like physical health as well. But as soon as you say in our society mental health, they think it's mental illness or mental health problem. And this is a show of the limited knowledge people do have around the issues of mental health. Mental health speaks around the wellness of the mind. It reinforces the need to be able to function adequately and able to perform your basic daily requirements, amidst the fact that there might be issues of stress and stressors, but the capacity to function is key. That is mental health. While mental illness talks about those that might need medical attention because they are symptomatic in nature. But the third point is mental health problems that speaks a lot around those basic stressors that limit our functioning. They might, and in any case, would not necessarily need medication or clinical support, but it affects your performance, possibly at the place of work, possibly how you could be able to interact with your family, and also it might deter positive relationship with loved ones, with friends, and affect your daily functioning in life. And this is a lot of issue that our colleagues out there don't know, and this is one of the key issues why the champions we have been identified and launched.
Now that this has been launched, let's talk about how you will go about getting people to have confidence, because we know we do not have much counselors here, not much therapists, to tell us to determine what type of mental illness or what is really wrong with your mental health. Let's talk about what are the services you provide.
Great question. I mean, in a lot of time and in most cases, I would always love to tell my stories. The stories of what I went through and how the services were, what were the services and how I bought into it. Yeah. At age 3, I woke up in the afternoon, my mom was not around, and I lost my way, totally off the house. Somebody had to catch me in the street, find my parents. As young as I was, I experienced trauma at age 3. At age 12, I had issue of depression because of family dysfunction. My parents were not together. My father was suffering from poverty, and it took us to our maternal grandmother to take care of us. And each day as a child, you will hear your grandmother raining abuses on your own serious father not being able to take care of you as a family. And as a child, you begin to imagine what these impacts are. No system, no structure. Yeah. At age 14, it got its impact on me, and suicidal thoughts and attempts came into being. At age 16, I was mistaken for a RAF, and I was taken to Kokri to be washed, unquote. And during those times when they say wash, basically you are done. Yeah. And at my early 20s, you wouldn't believe my best friend, who is my elder brother, passed away just on a short notice. Within that same period, I lost my father. So you begin to realize that these are compounded issues that by then we do not understand the dynamics of mental health problems that this young guy went through. Yeah. And I got married, I thought this is the best of my life, and my wife took ill. She was diagnosed with cancer, and eventually, good enough, she didn't pass away. But I suffered depression for a long time. What were the service? This is the reason why I accepted being a champion. The services were not known to us. The services were not there. We had little knowledge around what talking therapy were. The only thing that helped us, and that is my primary drive, is the community structures that are there. Possibly religious structure, possibly family, possibly friends.
Because for now, I think that's maybe the best. From what I know, the religious structure and the family, they may be the best.
Except
because for hospitals, I don't I don't know, maybe you can enlighten me more if there are any facilities available for that.
There has been marked difference as compared to when I went through my predicament. Yeah. In as much as we believe in those structures, they must be guided. There is this pyramid where we have the bottom line, where the greater number of people are. And these are the places we would find community structures. The teachers, the nurses, yeah, these are basic structures. They do not need any specialized training to provide such services.
Well, sometimes it's the trust you have in them.
The second point is
make use of them.
It's great. The second point is the level of intervention they can provide. If they go beyond their bite, it might mean painting the cracks. That might be dangerous on other end. Yeah, but over the years there has been some great mark. I mean, you might know I now am the country director for Mental Health Coalition, and we've existed since 2011. When we came, we only knew of the Sierra Leone Mental Home by then, now called the Sierra Leone Psychiatric and Teaching Hospital. That was what we knew about. And it was a home psychologically where you are abandoned under a 1902 Lunacy Act that condemns you totally in society. So even when you are sick, you wouldn't want to identify with that kind of condition because it is equated to semi-imprisonment. Yeah, but in the early 2011 upward, 21 mental health nurses were being trained and posted in all government hospitals. By 2015, we took hold of the Ebola opportunity and we ensured that there was a unit for all of them. Now we have some who have taken different career paths, unfortunately, because there is no direct remuneration, there is no direct career path for them. And so increment in terms of your path to professionalism is halted at a particular point, and these are the challenges. However, there are still some units functioning at Connaught Hospital, at 34 Military Hospital, at Kenema Government Hospital. You would agree with me if you ask an individual that there are mental health services at Connaught versus the psychiatric hospital, they would prefer Connaught because the stigma associated to the hospital and the ideology of mental illness is huge in our society.
But can't it be differentiated? Like when people go for therapy sessions, we know they are not mad, but they are just there for therapy.
I am smiling because the first time I came up with my issue that led to suicidal issues, suicidal ideation, somebody walked to me and said, "Joshua, you are stupid. You could not even understand life. You wanted to take your life." That is what she says, criminalizing suicide. By the way, we don't criminalize suicide in our end because suicidal thought is a cry for help. We don't criminalize it. We rather look at what are the precipitating factors versus what are the attempts to undo those factors. So I think a lot of time the stigma around mental illness makes people don't want to identify with it or to go to places and say, "Oh, this is purely for those with mental illness." No matter the stages and the causes, people won't show up for it. Even when you go to religious centers, if they say this is demon possessed, unquote, people will begin to be very careful how they identify with them. So our drive is, when can we undo the myths and the myths and the assumption of mental illness? How can we reach the point where we realize that this could be as any other condition? Until awareness is raised, it's like if you want to bring out darkness, just put the switch on. If you want to dispel ignorance, bring enlightenment. But culture that has taken its hold for centuries in the mind of individual, to change that around mental health issues is quite a huge task.
And now you are now a champion, and you have an organization that looks after that champions this issue. Let's talk about how do you do your work?
Brilliant question. Mental Health Coalition serves 4 key categories. It's not different from the work of champions. Our first point is, dispelling the myths around mental health issues, which is awareness raising. We've been doing it quite a lot. To be sincere enough, when I started working at City of Rest Rehabilitation Center, I was teaching in one of the government secondary school. People thought I am deteriorating in my life and my professional path. These are the kind of concept that awareness raising could respond to. And we have worked in 8 districts, raising chapters in those 8 districts, raising awareness in school, forming school clubs, making peer influence in their colleague peers. The second thing we did was an advocacy around policy, legislation, training in terms of human resource capacity, pushing for political will. Honestly, I was in UK and I spoke to some students who were offering psychiatry as a cause. You would see the vast difference around the resources, around training opportunities, around capacity enhancement, around structures that are there. And if you really want to be like them, you have to follow those principles that informs those best practices and bring those outcomes. So we advocate around those things. And we think key actors that benefit from our advocacy is the government. I must applaud them for great things they have done, except that we still struggle around issues of the act that is yet to be passed. But the third thing we did was to build capacity. You advocate, you raise awareness, and people go for care. It's not there. It's a huge challenge. And that is why you would realize I referenced us through an EU project funding 21 nurses to be trained at the commerce. And today, I will tell you for free there are about 11 doctors being professionalizing, zeroing around psychiatry, which is a huge plus for us, in as much as if you check it for a population of about 8 million, it might be very challenging for them. But these are the issues around capacity enhancement. We do CCP, the Clinical Professional Continuous Development Program. We train traditional healers, strange enough, and religious leaders to know where their capacity stops and where to refer. Otherwise, they may be counterproductive to the very essence. So now the president of Traditional Healers Union knows when they encounter a mental health cases, they must first refer. Not try for roast the person, we will say in our culture, for leaving demon jealous and move away. There are cases when intercourse, which is sexual abuse, is being meted on the individual. They say they want the spirit to become jealous and leave the individual's body. So capacity enhancement would help. And lastly, we do integration and livelihood.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Continue to stay with us on the program. He is Joshua Abiose Duncan, Country Director of Mental Health Coalition and a Mental Health Champion. For another issue this afternoon, the 18th of March is World Young Rheumatic Disease Day to raise awareness about pediatric rheumatic diseases globally. According to healthcare providers, since they started awareness raising about pediatric rheumatic conditions in the country some 18 months ago, it has been an exponential increase in the rate of identifying children with pediatric rheumatic diseases in the country. As part of the day, PAFLA, in collaboration with the SLMDA, will launch a pediatric rheumatology clinic and organize first ever training for health workers in identifying management of pediatric rheumatic disease. Well, for more, I have Dr. Freddie Coker, the president of SLMDA, that's the Sierra Leone Medical and Dental Association, PAFLA board member and PAFLA Sierra Leone team lead. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me. And
now, rheumatic disease. Let's get the meaning of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, when we talk of rheumatic conditions, we primarily refer to those conditions which mainly affect the bone, the joint, the muscle, and the skin. Not too long ago, it was believed that rheumatic conditions mainly affect adults. And it was not recognized in most societies in the world that children too can get rheumatic conditions. So globally, we've had children who have been suffering from these conditions undiagnosed due to lack of awareness, even among health workers, talk less of the patient themselves and their caregivers. And rheumatic conditions are progressive, which means if you don't identify them early and commence treatment, they progress relentlessly and the ultimate points could be death. You know, and what motivated me as an individual to get involved in awareness raising about these conditions was because we lost a colleague. A couple of years ago, we lost a young, promising medical doctor who was having romantic conditions but was undiagnosed due to what I would say lack of awareness on the part of most of our healthcare providers. And by the time he got diagnosed in Senegal or some country outside Sierra Leone, it was very late. So he eventually succumbed to the condition. You know, so from that point, I said one day I'll be involved in raising awareness, you know, in romantic conditions in my country.
Okay, so now for mostly the most common for the aged, the older people, adults, like you mentioned, that is common for us here. You see people say I have arthritis with their knees and all of these. But how does it affect the young people?
Yeah, so when we say romantic conditions, it's a diverse group of conditions as opposed to what is usually taught by most people. When we say romantic condition, what comes to mind is arthritis. But then it goes beyond arthritis. It's a diverse group of conditions which, as I mentioned earlier on, affects the joints. In most cases, it can affect the skin, the muscle, and sometimes internal organs like the liver, the kidney, the brain, etc., etc. But in children, the most common one that we encounter is a condition we call juvenile idiopathic arthritis. It's a condition in which a child less than the age of 16 develops, for unexplained reasons, joint problems. And the interesting point is that it can affect children as young as those who are less than a year old. You know, so how does this condition manifest? Similar to adults, in some cases, they will present with joint pain and joint stiffness. Characteristically, they will wake up in the morning and realize that moving their joints is very, very challenging. You know, and as they move around throughout the course of the day, the pain and stiffness get better. If you have a child complaining of that kind of symptom, you should always have the suspicion of a juvenile idiopathic arthritis. There are times when it will present with a child, for unexplained reason, being tired all the time. You know, a child who used to be very active before is now always down, always tired, not able to play as he or she used to do before. You should have in mind the possibility of such a condition. And for infants, you have a child who was able to sit before and for some reason could not sit anymore. Or a child who was able to walk before and for some reason is not able to walk anymore. Or a child who for unexplained reasons cry all the time. So these are all non-specific ways by which they present that should raise the suspicion for a romantic condition. Sometimes it will come with fever, unexplained fever. Sometimes a rash on the skin, unexplained rash. Especially when you have managed for the other common conditions. I mean, the symptoms don't go away. You should always have in your mind the possibility of a romantic condition. And the important thing is that the earlier you identify and diagnose them, the better the outcome. Because once you allow them to progress for a long time, the outcome is usually very, very poor. So that's why for, this year awareness, the World Day celebrations, the theme is to raise awareness among children and young people about romantic conditions and empower them to thrive.
And now let's talk about the treatment of this disease.
Yes. Yes. So let me just give a brief background of why I'm here in the first place. You talked about PAFLA.
I'm coming to that.
Okay.
We are talking about the disease, so
okay.
I'll come to your organization.
Yes. So well, the treatment of this condition is twofold. I'm happy we have a mental health expert talking to us today, because there is a huge mental health component as well. For, any chronic condition. Romantic condition is not excluded. But then for romantic conditions, one, you want to identify the pain and inflammation, that is the pain and joint swelling, which is usually the cause for acute concern, and those are managed with simple medications, what we call NSAID, things like ibuprofen, naproxen. They usually help with the acute pain and inflammation. And when they are severe enough, we have other medications that we use, which we call the steroids. They are simple medications that we have available. So things like prednisolone, for example, which are cheap and easily available in country. We can use them. But then when they are relatively more severe, then that's where the problem comes in. We have, more advanced medications, which we call disease-modifying drugs, which we use to treat these medications. And thankfully, a couple of years ago, you hardly have these medications in country. Okay. But recently, we are beginning to have them gradually. In fact, the most common one that is used, which we call methotrexate, is readily available now. So that's for the acute treatment. And of course, we have other advanced treatment, like we have what we call the biologic.
Can it be cured?
Well, as any
because
chronic,
I see people living with it.
Yes, as any chronic illness, you don't necessarily cure it, but you control it. Exactly, you control it so that the person can live a near normal life. And of course, in addition to the medications I mentioned, the psychological component is also very key. Okay. Every chronic illness takes a toll on the mental health of the patients and the caregivers and the family. Need some time. So the importance of psychological support for these patients is very, very key. And what is also very important is ensuring that they have a proper continuum of care. Just like any chronic illness, you don't need to wait until you fall ill or have an acute flare-up before you seek treatment. You should be monitored and followed up routinely in the facility. So one of the milestones we have been able to achieve, which will be launching tomorrow, is the establishment of a rheumatology clinic for children. We have children in Sierra Leone who have rheumatic conditions will be able to access care, so that will be monitored regularly, providing a good continuum of care.
Okay, so now before we come to that thing that you are establishing, the clinic, let's talk about the diagnosis. You mentioned you had the zeal to do this because you lost someone who was wrongly diagnosed. How efficient are the diagnosis in this country?
Yes, that's a good question. What is reassuring about that question is that to diagnose rheumatic conditions does not always necessitate the request for very advanced investigations. Okay. The main way of diagnosing rheumatic conditions, one is by having what we call an index of suspicion. Mm-hmm. When you see a child presenting with those symptoms I've mentioned, joint pain, skin, bone issues, you have to suspect in the first place. So diagnosis is mainly based on clinical history and examination. If you have a child who reports those symptoms which are in line with rheumatic conditions, and when you examine them, you find out they have manifestations which are in line with rheumatic conditions, then you are home and dry. You can within a reasonable limit diagnose these conditions. But however, where doubts exist, in some cases there is need for certain investigations to be carried out. Unfortunately, that's where we have a challenge now. Most of these investigations are cost-effective. They are not. Yes, they are very expensive. They are not cost-effective at all, and some are not even available in country. Yeah, but the good thing is that most of the patients that we are following now, more than 20 of them or so, we did not require these laborious or high-fidelity investigations to diagnose them. We are able to diagnose them in most cases by history examination, and where necessary, some of the basic investigations that we can do, which we have in country. But what is very crucial, though, about rheumatic conditions is that because we live in a country where sickle cell, we are in Africa, sub-region, sickle cell has a very high prevalence. So that's one of the main points we want to emphasize.
So don't mix them up.
Exactly.
It's nearly the same symptoms.
So most of the patients we have seen that we are eventually diagnosed as having rheumatic conditions have been treated for sickle cell for many, many years. For many, many years with no response. So it's one of the key points we want to rely on, that if you have a child, and the other interesting thing is that they even coexist. Yeah, you have some children who have sickle cell and rheumatic problems. And in fact, sickle cell itself, science have shown, is a risk factor for having rheumatic problems. So children who have sickle cell are more likely to have rheumatic issues than children without sickle cell. So that's the interesting interplay. And that's one of the line points we want to really get across. So even our healthcare providers, that when you see a child you think have sickle cell, and this child is not responding to conventional treatment for sickle cell, think about the possibility of the child having a romantic problem.
Okay, so now let's come to PAFLA. What is it all about?
Yeah, so PAFLA, I mean, it's an acronym.
Yeah.
Yes, it stands for the Pediatric Society for the African League Against Romanticism. Okay. Yeah, it was established in 2018, 2019, thereabout, by a Kenyan pediatric rheumatologist, a person of Professor Angela Migoa. Yeah, so she also saw the need for raising awareness. You know, after she went to Canada to do a program in pediatric rheumatology, she realized it was a very common condition in Canada. And I mean, it has a global prevalence, which is even. It's the incidence in Canada is the same in Sierra Leone, it's the same everywhere. So when she came back, she thought that this condition might be common in my country. It's just that due to lack of awareness, we are not picking them up. So she formed this group in order to help identify children with this condition, not only in her country, but right across Africa. You know, and so she spread ideology and concepts to every country in Africa, and that is how PAFLA came about. So I happen to be one of 2 West Africans. The other person is a Nigerian who are represented in this group, and we have other members from South Africa and East Africa. So our main mission is to raise awareness about pediatric rheumatology conditions in Africa, and when these children are identified, to help them by way of ensuring they have access to care, both for the acute phases and continuum of care. And we do that through various means. One, of course, what I'm doing now, through media engagement programs. We have structured education programs for healthcare workers. We have programs where we have patients' voices, patients giving their testimonies, and also helping raising awareness. And of course, we help to get pharmacies to import medications which are needed for managing these conditions. And as we'll be having tomorrow, we'll be launching a clinic as well, which
so
is
let's talk
aimed
about the services this clinic will offer.
Yes.
Is it free?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be within Olajuwin, and of course, Olajuwin, as we all know, is part of it's a public health facility which is covered by the free health care for certain age group and certain group of children. So all those who belong to those groups catered for by the free health care, of course, will access the service free. Yeah, so I became a board member for PAFLA in 2021. So I decided to bring PAFLA home because I felt that most likely, I mean, we'll have children in Sierra Leone who are having these conditions. And based on global estimates, it is estimated that we have about 600 children in Sierra Leone who are having arthritis alone. But most of these children, of course, due to lack of awareness, are unidentified. So our mission was to help identify these children with arthritis in Sierra Leone, help them to access care, and by so doing, restore hope to them and their families and improve their quality of life. So in 2022, I did a small study in Olajuwin to find out how often do we identify these children who have this condition. And going through the records at the time, I realized that for the whole of 2021, we had only about 4 of these children who were identified in the hospital. And just to draw to mind that Olajuwin is the main referral center for, children in the country. So we launched this campaign in 2022. I formed a local group for PAFLA, and I've been very active in raising awareness. And I'm happy to say that between 2022 and now, we have close to 30 children who have identified. Yes, we have identified. So we used to have them come to the wards haphazardly for follow-up. But since the numbers are growing, we felt that no, we should have a designated clinic where these children will come in to access care. So that is why we are launching the clinic tomorrow. We'll be running the clinic once a week, and these children will have access, of course, free for those covered by those groups catered for by the free health, the under 5, and the vulnerable groups and all of that. So they will be catered for free. Where the medications are available, they will receive them free, of course. Where they are not available, they will be given prescriptions to get this medication from outside, and then they will receive the treatment. And the important thing is that they will be followed up routinely. So they don't have to stay home until they get flare-ups or until the condition progress, to very dangerous levels before they come for care. No. We want to ensure that routinely they will be coming for follow-up, just like we follow up children with sickle cell, for example.
Yeah.
So we're coming routinely, making sure they have their medications, they have any psychosocial support, they are offered, and etc. etc. And ultimately, we hope to form support groups where we'll be linking various patients and caregivers with the condition, so they will be sharing their testimonies, and have people or institutions or interested groups who will be supporting their care.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Continue to stay with us in the program, Dr. Freddie Coker, President of the Sierra Leone Medical and Dental Association, PAFLA board member, and PAFLA Sierra Leone team lead. Well, the program you're watching is a podium coming to you live on Slbc Television in Freetown. Be reminded that you can send your messages to 030-073-719. But we're going for a short break. When we come back, we shall be dealing with students' issues. Back. The program is a podium coming to you live on Slbc Television in Freetown. For another issue this afternoon, hundreds of school kids affected by the wide portal entry for WAS have protested as they were unable to meet the deadline, which was in February. Their examinations are to be conducted in June this year on schools to ensure they meet the deadline by uploading their CAS and BRS candidates. Well, for more, I have in the studio Augustine Bambi Anthony, who is the Communications Officer, Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon, Daphne, and good afternoon, viewers.
Year after year, since the calling for CAS and BRS started, we have always been on programs all over the country talking about the importance of getting it as a criteria for you being part of the examinations, but yet still we see the same thing recurring. What's happening?
Daphne, is unfortunate. We shouldn't be here talking about kids left out of the exams. It's unfortunate for Sierra Leone. It's unfortunate for all of us. This whole tussle started when the system was changed. Before now, it was a post-cast system. I want to remind viewers that WAEC is an international, WASC is an international exams conducted by WAEC for 5 countries. So there is no way Sierra Leone could stand out differently to conduct its own exam separately. People have to understand that. The system with WAEC, now WAEC International, is saying that you have to year by year upload CAS, continuous assessment score, for your candidate, for your potential candidate in 2 years. Meaning that if you are in SSS 1, when you go to SSS 2, that first continuous assessment score is uploaded for you. But that first continuous assessment score tells WAEC that you are a potential candidate in 2 years to write your WASC exams. So what happens? It goes with biodata, your name, your age, your sex, and even the subjects that you offer. So it has prepared the basis for you. So when you go to SSS 3, your SSS 2 and SSS 3 continuous assessments are then uploaded. So you are a full candidate. You have a maximum of 30%. I'm not saying it has to be 30% all the time, but you have a maximum of 30% already put aside for you for the exams. So you really are now going for just 70% of the exams. So what happens in Sierra Leone? Government pays for public exams, especially for government and government-assisted schools for WASC. So the issue here is always that since 2018, some of these principals have made WASC a business enterprise where they have to go out for keys, for people, not even keys, who have interest in writing the exams, and they collect monies and they register them for the exams. The reason that you will see a school of 500 that will write the exam, they are really going to school, when they submit their continuous assessment, when they submit their candidate list for WAEC, it is about 900 to 1,000 and more, because they will call them passengers. So we knew this, but there was a change in the system also. That there was no repeaters policy again. We repealed the repeaters policy, so nobody will have to repeat the WASC in the government school, in government and government assisted schools. You can write the private WASC. So they also tussled with some of these principles. But because we introduced this precast system that you have to capture now your candidate in SSS 2, those in SSS 1 and SSS 2 has posed a huge challenge to their businesses. The business of collecting monies from people outside. So now you have to really determine who are going to write the exams in SSS 2 and not in SSS 3 as we used to be. So what we'll do, they will now sit and wait. That is the delay tactics. The principles, some of these principles will sit and wait, because you will see that over 892 schools successfully uploaded their continuous assessment and every other registration in the portal for WAEC. No problems. But a group of small schools will now come to say, no, we had challenges with this. What challenges? It's unfortunate that this afternoon we had young faces, young boys and girls, going to the Ministry of Education, crying to the minister. The minister had to come down to address them, crying to the minister that they want to write their exams. They have spoken to their principals, and they've been told that the Ministry of Education has denied them of writing the exams. So you see how people are wicked?
No, but let me come to this. Why would they do this? Because of their selfish interests, to the detriment of these young, innocent pupils. I'm
going to even call the names of some schools. For example.
So what are you, because the last time you suspended some schools.
So I am coming there. So what happened just a few months ago, some of these principals, just 6 of them, major schools in Freetown, refused to submit the second aspect of the continuous assessment, CAS 2, to upload into the portal for the kids. So we have suspended them after following due process. The Teaching Service Commission championed that. We've suspended them for 6 months without salary, because they sat down, they know they have a duty of care, they know they have a month period and more to upload the continuous assessment. They didn't do it even after the last day. For some schools who have left their candidates out now, they waited until the last day for the closure of the portal. That was the day they knew, okay, we are not going to expect any new candidates coming in. Let's go down and try. Unfortunately for them, in the process, they had difficulties, whether the internet was choked, whether the numbers were large. So they were not able to successfully upload, and the candidates are now suffering. So for those teachers or those heads of schools, you will hear from us, because we are going to come down heavily, and of course, it's not just going to be suspension this time, because you've wasted a whole year potentially of these keys. So
there is no way that the portal will be open.
This is the fact. This is the fact. The portal is not going to be reopened anymore. Yeah, the process is closed. However, the Minister Conrad Saki, he's troubled. He's somebody that loves cheating. He's troubled. When he was speaking to those keys, he was like, come on, I'm going to do something to save these kids' academic future. So he's working, I don't want to share with the public, but he's working on something. You remember last year it happened.
For them to take the private ones.
Well, I am not going to say that.
People are scared of these private ones.
I am not going to say that.
It's a business. So some people take it more than 5 times without getting what they need.
So I am not going to say it's going to be a private
exam. They do it deliberately to fail people so that they get more money.
I am not going to say we are going to do the private exams. But what is important here, that the minister and the ministry,
they are going to do the private exams, well, they have to wait for a year.
So
I think his best option is a private class.
So definitely,
don't keep it a secret.
The important point is we want our kids to write the exams in this calendar year
and fall in the business category.
So remember, our government paid for over 30,000 candidates last year.
Yes.
To write the private exams. So expensive to write. Costly 3 times more than the government exams to write. So government took that responsibility and paid through the effective clients of the president. So this year again, it has happened. And it is all but the fault of the very principles we put in place.
Yeah.
Because your responsibility is to upload. The minister will not move from the office to go upload for you. You are working directly, so this is how the system works. We give notifications to the schools, either in writing or public notices or the individual or bilateral correspondences that we do with the principals about the various dates of reopening and closure. So their responsibility.
Let's talk about the time.
It's always 3 months.
3 months. Okay.
It's far. It's huge. You can do that in 24 hours. Yeah. It's just because they want to wait, as I made the background. They want to wait for more passengers to come. So what happened? I was just going to tell you. Within that 3 months, that's the time they will be sending some of these teachers go tell Pekin and say we get business. So, and that's the time they gather. Last year, the minister had to go to the president and pleaded, please let these kids write. It's not even good to go back to the president and plead. And the president had to give an effective client.
But you see, they are not smart. If you're smart and you know you want this business, you reserve the spaces and put in, because we know what forgery is. People do it.
So
that's why manufacture grade soda and put so that they get their passengers and do not stall the life.
Unfortunately, the system does not accept that. Let me share with you.
They are the ones who make their records.
So let me share with you. As long as you have uploaded the first continuous assessment score.
When they look smart, that's where they should do the
yes, as long as you have uploaded the continuous assessment score, that first one,
class one.
There is no way you have to edit.
Well, that shows they are not smart.
They know that.
I know.
So that's why you have to wait.
Okay.
Because genuinely they have 300 candidates in their schools, but they are anticipating 700 to make money. So they have to wait. Within the 3 months until the last day, they will now see, I think we have some bad luck. We are not going to have these people coming. Let's go and upload. And that's the time Yes. Some principals, for example, I was going to say something that you just came in.
Okay.
That is the relationship. We notify them, they go to upload. So the relationship now is between them and WAEC.
Okay.
So WAEC has to come back to the ministry to tell us these are the schools that have uploaded. But a very good thing that WAEC does is they tell us weekly or bi-weekly, they give us updates. How many schools have done. So with these ones, we are giving updates that this number of schools have not uploaded. We went to these schools. We went to these schools through our SQUAM officers to tell them, please go and upload. Give us update later. And they will tell us, okay, we'll go do it tomorrow, we'll do it next tomorrow. I will follow up until the last day. But you know why? Some of them usually succeed on the last day.
Okay.
So they have the confidence. Unfortunately, for a big school like the Methodist Girls High School, nobody is going to write the exams as per the requirements of WAEC, because the entire school, they failed to upload their continuous assessment score 1 from the deadline to make the deadline because they were waiting. So you see, so many other schools tried, and because on the last day,
how many of these schools?
Yeah, we have more than 80 of the schools
all over the country.
Yeah, across the country that have this problem. So we are going to ensure the minister is focusing on the kids. How to let the kids write the exam, because that's his primary focus. For the principals who come back to tell you that they are terminated by due process. It's not going to be an authoritarian kind of thing, but they are going to go through the due process. And if we find any corrupt practice, we will then take them to the anti-corruption. That is not good.
Yeah.
The parents are outside there. That's why we are calling.
And most of the time, it's better for the kids as young as they are to progress. Yeah. Because if they go older, they'll be distracted.
A principal came around
for a whole year.
A principal came around the other day to talk to us to say, sorry, I forgot my password. Okay, you forgot your password. You never came to tell the ministry. You never went to wire to tell them you forgot your password. You never went to the ITs. You never went to our district IT officers. You forgot your password. Only after the deadline, you came to say, sorry, I forgot my password. You know why? They were used to the time we used to reopen portals over and again and again and again and again. But that is over. We can't do that anymore. So that's the problem. However, I want to encourage.
If you consider reopening it now, will they still be late?
So I want to encourage our numerous students, our candidates who are affected. Don't be discouraged. The ministry is working on something.
Okay, you'll make a way.
Yeah, so we'll try to see by the end of the week to come back to see what we have agreed. But we're working on something because we are working for them. But for the principals,
it depends on you. That's why they go to you and try.
For the principals, we are coming for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Augustine Bami Anthony. Was still with me in the studio is the CEO of Mental Health Coalition. Yes, sir. I wanted to ask the work you do. Let's talk about the trust and confidence people have in walking through your doors and telling you what is affecting them.
Our agent used to say, listening is medicinal. And a lot of time we miss that essence. A lot of us wants to talk, wants to be heard. This is the society we think you are valued by what you say than what you receive. And this is the opposite for the service we provide. And this is exactly what the champions are set out to do, to change the status quo. It might not always be right. And we think we are supporting systems and structure, not only us as an institution, but every institution in country, every service provider that meets best standard, to be able to meet international best practices, first of community mental health, where you are able to share, I feel this way today, I am feeling anxious, I am feeling down, and you know exactly where to go. And when you go there, we make sure standards are met. You are able to have confidentiality. It doesn't come by chance, but you would agree with me that the fact that the ministry has endorsed this champion means they are looking for a third eye. The eye that supports best practices and ensure we have therapeutic, evidence-based intervention in our society.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm over to you, Dr. Coker. You know, I wanted, first of all, is this illness hereditary?
Well, as I mentioned, it's a varying group of conditions. It's not one disease entity. And most of them are what we call multifactorial, in which there is an hereditary component and an environmental component. There are some in which the exact cause is not even known. For example, the GIA, which I have been talking about, is what we call multifactorial. By way of etiology, which means we have hereditary components, I think genes are implicated, but of course we have environmental components. And I'm happy you asked this question because one of the practices we have in our setting is the indiscriminate use of antibiotics to our children. And studies show that children who receive antibiotics frequently when they are young, before the age of 3 years, has a very high risk of getting this arthritis later on in life. Which also calls for caution in the way we use antibiotics among our children.
And also, I have two more questions for you because, I like that you're looking after young people. Is part of the treatment, do you do surgery?
Well,
because most of the time I've heard people talking about, like for arthritis, when they do surgery, they remove the kneecap. Some people say they regret doing that because it's more painful than when it was there.
Yeah, so again, as I mentioned, for the arthritis in children, most of the time, especially when diagnosed early, it is amendable to medications. But however, we have certain subtypes. I mean, there is one which we call spondyloarthropathy, which usually affects the spine and bones. And that one is usually undiagnosed. And most of the time, it is diagnosed when the condition is very advanced. So in that one, of course, usually surgery has a role to play, in which you have spinal surgery to correct some of the damages done in the spine. Okay. But of course, for the juvenile arthritis, which is a common one, in very advanced cases, you may require surgery, but most of the time, commencing the medication early, the disease process is arrested without the need for surgery.
Okay, so now finally, your success rates. So far, you started in 2022?
Exactly. So how do we measure our success rates? As I mentioned, I mean, these are chronic conditions in which we don't expect a permanent cure. But what is our goal? Our goal is to identify children with this condition and offer them access to care. So our success is that, between 2022 and now, we have been able to identify more children with this condition. We are close to 30 now, as opposed to less than 5 when we started. Okay. So that's a huge success. And secondly, we are able to provide care for these children. And so far, the ones we are following up are doing quite well. They are doing quite well with treatment. So those are successes. And of course, I mean, the highlights of this week's celebration will be a training on Saturday, in which PAFLA, in collaboration with SLMDA, we are organizing the first ever in-country training for health workers on how to identify and manage within what we have available as resources, manage children who have these conditions. And we hope it will be a very impactful training that will help us to identify more of these children and offer them access to proper care. Okay,
well, thank you so much. And so you, Mr. Joshua, finally, let's talk about where you're located, the champions. So do you go about in communities, or do you have a place where people meet you and you tell them the work you do? Or you help them out with mental problems?
This is a network of key actors drawn from various walks of life. We do have our activity. Our activity is not a threatening one. Our activity is to support systems and structures to function. We do meet from time to time. We are young, as you would already know, but the fact is we are planning on key activities to see how we can support what is supportable. But we also advocate, and I would want to say the actors ranges from government and non-government, but these are non-specialists in the field of mental health. And our drive is to ensure that in the next 5 years, Sierra Leone could be a reference point for mental health growth in the country.
Okay, thank you very much. And finally, Augustine, how soon will these pupils know their fate?
So the minister is making some arrangement. He's actually having discussions behind the scene to see how, to the very least, the kids who write the exam. So I think 1 week, this week, will suffice, and they'll come back to tell the public their fate.
Thank you.
But at the moment, no, they really do not have any space as per WAEC requirements.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Augustine. Well, that's how we end the podium for this afternoon. Many thanks to my studio guests, Dr. Freddie Coker, the president of SLMDA, PAFLA board member, and PAFLA Sierra Leone team lead, and Mr. Joshua Abiose Duncan, country director, Mental Health Coalition and Mental Health Champion, and Augustine Bami Anthony, the communications officer of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. Our producer has been Salma Taba. Before we go, the quote for today came from Billy Graham, an American evangelist, and it says, "When wealth is lost, nothing is lost. When health is lost, something is lost. When character is lost, all is lost." Make sure you don't lose your character. My name is Daphne Zainab Kamar. The podium returns tomorrow, same time. Join the SLBC and get more information. Goodbye.
News Brief on the Hour with me, Esther Sako. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Timothy Kaba, and the Chinese ambassador to Sierra Leone, Wang Xing, have launched the pilot land rehabilitation project in Tongo Community, Lower Bambara Chiefdom, Kenema District. The initiative aims to use innovative environmental restoration through sustainable livelihoods. The project, titled Innovative Environmental Restoration through Sustainable Livelihoods in Small-Scale Mining Affected Communities in Sierra Leone, was to bring back economic developments that resonate with the game changers of the government projects, including the Feed Salon program. At the official launching ceremony, local authorities, beneficiaries expressed optimism that the project will make a difference in the lives of locals. The $50,000 initiative is funded by the Embassy of China in Sierra Leone. The project is targeting 45 women and will reclaim lands of agricultural purposes, including cultivating various vegetables 3 times a year, having fish ponds, and a cold room with a solar panel. The Chinese ambassador to Sierra Leone, Wang Xing, said he is happy to contribute to the economic development of Lower Bambara Chiefdom. The Minister of Health, together with its development partners, have launched and inducted the Mental Health Champions Network in Sierra Leone. This network aims to advance mental health services and advocacy throughout the country, ensuring that mental health is prioritized and stigma is addressed on all levels of society. The head of Psychiatric Teaching Hospital, Dr. Abdul Jallo, said the mental health champions would be leading advocacy efforts, raise awareness, mobilize resources for mental health, and policies reforms, including the Obsolete Lunacy Act of 1902. Deputy Minister of Health to Dr. Jalkato Mustafa said providing mental health care was a priority to the Ministry of Health, noting that the establishment of mental health champions will serve as an eye-opener to addressing mental health issues in the country. Over the past few years, the Ministry of Health and its partners have been working to improve the quality of service for mental health and neurological disorders. Diana Konomani, the estranged member of the main opposition of People's Congress Party, has embarked on a mission to fellow party women in the south and east of the country. According to Madam Konomani, the party could only be viable and strong to contest and win elections when its members are united. She highlighted that she was among those who were aggrieved at the party, but has decided to put her grievances aside and is now galvanizing her fellow women in a bid to ensure that peace reigned within the party. Diana Konomani served as both the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development and Minister of Lands, Country Planning and the Environment in the government of President Ernest Bai Koroma. The Civil Society Consortium on Community Accountability and Service Delivery has viewed the operations of the Secure Report to be prudent contributions to national security. According to the coordinator of the consortium, Awa Koroma, since 2012, our organization has been monitoring with keen interest the commentary operations of Secure Report, which she noted have enhanced security solutions for civil aviation, border management, immigration, and threat assessment. In a press statement, Awa said the presence and operations of Secure Report at the Freetown International Airport, Lunge, was vital in ensuring the safety of travelers through the implementation of a robust, modern integrated immigration control system, but not limited to collecting travelers' data immigration control points, conducting interactive background check based on biometric and document verification, and detecting threats and risks associated with immigration and national security, among others. She lauded the government for the huge transformation of the airports, describing the facilities at the airport as one of the premier in the sub-region. And finally, as part of the school's 100 years celebration, the One Prince William's Association has distributed centenary ties to over 1,500 pupils of the Prince of Wales Secondary School. President of the association, Sulaiman Rahman Kamal, said the gift served as an emblem to show that they were celebrating a century of excellence. adding that it was something they should cherish to show to generations to come that they were part of the school's centenary history. One of the pioneers of the gift, who is a member of the All Prince William's Association UK chapter, Dr. Lucia Touye, said, as an association, they would do all they could to maintain the academic success of the school, especially that they only need the current corps of Prince William's to continue to raise the school's banner higher. The pupils lauded the initiative and thanked the association for their efforts in maintaining the name of the school while calling for more academic support. Well, that's it for News Brief on the hour from the Slbc Broadcasting Corporation. I am Esther Sako. Goodbye.
Should we always say Bismillah?
Because when you say Bismillah, Allah is with you and put barakah in